So, hello, fellow Earthlings. This is Earthling 6455463728. And full self driving is probably BS. It's with a very heavy heart that I have to say that and admit that, but yeah. And I'll get into that in a moment. As usual, I have to brag about myself for a couple of seconds before I start talking about my real talking point for the day. I guess for right now, I'm going to forego that a bit. And yeah, that's it for me. So, full self driving, like I said, is probably not what Tesla is in the end going to be offering in the near future, as in the next 10 or 20 years probably, meaning that you get into a car and you do nothing. You just say, hey, I want to go whatever, like with an Uber driver or something. And you might say, well, how do you know? You don't know everything. Well, there are a couple glaring issues with respect to full self-driving. And one of them, well, let me just state two of them, and there's probably more that I will go into. One, Elon Musk wanted to automate his entire factory. That is, building all of the Teslas, maybe using a very, very high percentage of automated labor. And that flopped hard. And if you can't automate building your Teslas in a completely and utterly controlled environment, you're supposed to go out there in the real world and be able to navigate better than a human being? No. Okay. The next one is, I was feeding my uncle today because, as per my normal brags, I take care of my uncle who is an Alzheimer's patient. Well, he has Alzheimer's. I don't know that he's a patient at a hospital except his mind. Anyway, as I was feeding him, I thought, why can't a robot do this? This is, and I mean, not this specifically feeding my uncle, but just feeding like another person with, some kind of issues. Maybe they can't lift their arms. Maybe they can't sit up straight. I don't know. Feed them. And I thought, but wait a minute. This is basic. This is basic. It would probably allow nursing homes, for example, to be able to hire fewer nurses and still take care of just as many people. Why isn't this a thing? There is no danger. There is no life involved. There are no high speeds involved in this. This is really, really simple. Why don't we have robots to do this? And I thought, well, wait a minute. This is low risk, potentially moderate reward, but definitely there should be some good reward with respect to this. And we can't do this. How are we supposed to expect that people are going to, neural net, intelligence, whatever, is supposed to navigate 99% of these roads that it's never been on? It's supposed to be able to recognize and be able to turn left and right, varying degrees, probably make U-turns, know when to start, know when to stop, be able in some ways to decipher the intentions and the speed of oncoming pedestrians, cyclists, motorists, trucks, make a life-death decisions about, okay, there are no brakes available, what should I do? What? We don't have a robot that can put food into somebody's mouth. in a very repeatable way. We don't have robots and intelligences that can automate building a Tesla, but you're going to be able to have a Tesla be able to navigate. I'm not. And you layer on top of that the fact that Elon Musk is very liberal with the exaggerations, I suppose is a very nice way of putting it. And has been shown, as I would have put in many pieces, to just outright either be completely crazy, which is not going to help you achieve your goals, be an outright liar, which is not going to help you achieve your goals, or a psychopath, whatever the case is, which is not going to help you achieve your goals. And you arrive at the unfortunate understanding, appreciation that full self-driving is not really going to be available. Maybe there's some general highway driving and maybe a little bit better than that, but you're probably going to have to keep your hands on that wheel for a really long time. And keep your hands on the wheel and your eyes on the road and be alert for a long time to come. Now, aside from those 2 points that I mentioned, which, all right, let me go into the whole automation of Tesla, the Tesla factory that Elon Musk tried. So yeah, that was his goal, to automate an entire factory. Unfortunately, but it's not conclusive. Other automakers have tried. Much bigger automakers have tried in the past, and they have failed. That is a bit of an indicator, but it is not a law that says, okay, they've tried, they failed, you're not going to be able to do it. Because technology has improved. Look at what was done with respect to the virus, the vaccine for the illness, as Grim Stephan would say. So clearly, things can improve. One day we weren't flying, and the next day we were. We had flying machines. So just because something wasn't done in the past, it doesn't mean it's not going to be a possibility or likelihood in the future. People have to keep trying, and then you're going to achieve something that you thought was impossible. But he thought something was impossible. He got a bunch of money to try to do it, and in the end, it may have been something that almost brought the company to ruin, because he did not perhaps try in the baby steps that you're supposed to try. You try a little bit, and then you try a little bit more, and then you try a little bit more, and you see how far you can push the envelope, rather than taking a big stack of chips or money and letting all of that ride on something that you haven't done the iterations on. And by iterations, let's look, for example, at Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs didn't just come out with an iPhone one day. As far as I know, he had the iPod and so many iterations of the iPod that did not have an interactive screen. And then you had one with an interactive screen, as far as I know. I didn't have any iPods, so I don't know. But by taking those baby steps, getting a little bit better and a little bit better and a little bit better, suddenly you have a platform that you can use to jump off to a destination that you never could have before. And by doing something like that, you can get to those places. But Elon Musk, unfortunately, has a history of taking really big bets that don't always pay off. And that's part of the reasons why he has so many lawsuits. And also, I would imagine, so many people who no longer work with him because of the pressure of trying trying to force them, I would imagine, to deliver on promises that he made without consulting them, I'm sure, to see what was possible and what was likely and so on. And even then, he, in many instances, probably was not and is not able to achieve the things that he promised, which is why he has to keep delaying the arrival of the things that he said would happen at particular times. So, if you have somebody who, beyond the fact that they totally exaggerate and lie to a great extent, and they've already shown in the past that they've not been able to deliver. I think NASA even has been waiting and waiting for things that they've paid him for already with respect to SpaceX. And there's that with SpaceX. There's the fact that Solar City would have flopped, would have gone belly up, and he had to use money from NASA to well, not even to continue that, I guess to buy and pay himself partly for any interest that he had in Solar City. Also, I was having a conversation with my friend, and this one is a little bit more interesting, maybe, I don't know. But my friend was basically saying that, when you really take into account the huge areas of the brain that have to do with sight in a human being, it doesn't seem likely that that can be replicable by a neural net or whatever means it is that Tesla is using. And I was like, I don't know about all of that. I don't know if that's the case. But eventually I kind of thought, well, maybe that is true. Maybe neural nets cannot replicate what even a small fraction of the brain can do. So how much less likely it is that they could achieve full self-driving. Then I thought to myself, eagles seem to be able to navigate and hunt really well, and their brains are not as big as ours, and I don't imagine their entire brains are probably smaller than the parts of the brain that we have dedicated to vision. So given that they're able to get around okay, and dogs and all of these other animals are able to get around okay, probably isn't really 100% necessary to have such a huge amount of neural net or whatever devoted to vision in order to have full self-driving be a reality. But all in all, I think that the fact that driving is so potentially difficult, that we have a driving age that we have kids have to be in order to get a permit, learn to drive. They have to drive with someone else for a number of years. The insurance companies have very, very high premiums on these kids. It doesn't seem so. I mean, yeah, you have Google able to have Go, but Go, which can beat a human being, is a very, very controlled environment. It is very, very controlled. It is nothing like reality. In reality, when you're driving, you can use your hands to signal to a pedestrian what your intentions are. You can understand what the pedestrian might be trying to say with their hands, or an expression on their face or something. Is full self-driving going to be able to appreciate the expression on someone's face? I don't think so. This is not like giving directions to a human, using Waze or Google Maps or something, and then the human being, through years and years of experience, is able to get through all of the fine points in actually navigating from place to place. This is the actual navigating from place to place. This is the eagles, the tigers, the bears, the all sorts of crazy things that can happen and don't happen most of the time. But it's such a mix of things that can happen that if it is that there's nothing to feed my uncle, there's nothing to build a Tesla, I don't think there's going to be something that's going to drive a car completely. I mean, if we set up certain bounds and we say this is what they can do and this is what we expect, yeah. But full self-driving, probably not for the next couple decades. Anyway, as usual, I've forgotten to ask you to like or subscribe at the beginning of the video. Yeah, that's it for me. Feel free to like, subscribe, share, all of that stuff. Keeping in mind, what kind of feedback would you like if this were your YouTube content? Have a good one. Peace.